A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of Xavier's College, Autonomous Kolkata, I would like to thank everyone for being present here today. It's my honor and absolute privilege to extend a warm welcome to a highly experienced individual present among us here today. Sir has won various laurels such as the Most Promising Business Leader, Personality of the Year, and LinkedIn's Top Voice in India for two consecutive years. We present to you Mr. Tapan Singhel, the MD and CEO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, as our guest speaker for today's session. Armed with an arsenal of knowledge and unparalleled level of business building and acumen, Sir is truly a force to be reckoned with. Sir has a rich experience in the insurance industry with more than 30 years of experience. He's been associated with Bajaj Allianz General Insurance for over 20 years and has been serving as the company's MD and CEO for close to 10 years. We are beyond thrilled to have you join us, sir, and are extremely thankful to you for taking time to conduct a session with us from your busy schedule. On behalf of everyone at TDC, I wish all the attendees of this session a great time of learning. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Pranjay. I think it's my honor to be here. Let me make it very clear. I love to interact with young, brilliant minds. It gives a lot of insight of how you think, how the future of India would unfold. And especially Calcutta has been a weakness. I grew up in the city of joy. My early childhood was spent there, St. Calcutta, La Martinia, and St. Xavier's used to be a close competition to us at all points of time. So obviously the love for Xavier is still there. And so when I got this opportunity, I said, wow, I'd be there to talk about it. Now, for all of you, I think there are 2-3 things which is interesting for me, and I try to see how do I put it together. One is that if you look at me from a education perspective or degrees perspective, I'm a master's in science, especially in laser spectroscopy, and I want to be a scientist. So that is my entire focus. I'll tell you why and what. And I ended up in business and in a kind of a startup also by Allianz. So as a founding employee of this company, build this company from scratch to what it is today. Completely different from what you'd expect. So I'm neither an MBA, nor did I plan to be in business. I just want to be a scientist. I think that was my only ambition in life, and this is where I am. So that's an interesting journey. So I'm not a regular businessman or armed with degrees. So my story of being a CEO would actually get some of you to understand that. The second is story of my company. If I look at Bajaj Generations company, we set this company up in the year 2001. At the time when government allowed private players to come in. Before that, it was government regulated. In just about 20 years' time, the entire capital put in this company is about 257 crores. And the last money that we put in the company was in the year 2007. Today, as per analysts, we are not listed. If we sell this company, we'll close 80,000 crores. So you hear a lot of unicorns, you hear a lot of billions get created, but a lot of times you forget that even companies like an insurance company, just 20 years back was a startup. We started from garages actually. I'll talk a bit about that story also, interesting for all of you since entrepreneurship. So entire capital just 257 crores. That's it. And today, as I said, if I sell this company, it's about 80,000 crores is what the company would be valued at. With 12 crore customers, that means every 1 in 4 household, and I'm very sure that most of you in your house, you find out you'll have a Bajaj policy. So nearly in every household of India, 1 in 4 household of India, definitely we would be there with this kind of huge base. Organically built, one of the massive distribution that we have created. I don't think any other company in the world would have as many bank partners that we have. Any bank that you bank up would be our corporate agent in all probability. Or any car you go to buy, any dealership, they would be our corporate agent. Or if you look at a strong force over 100,000 agents, it would be there, which is there. This is all built organically, not a single acquisition, built brick by brick. And the last capital we took was 2007, which means of 14-15 years, we not infused a single rupee to the company. And it is one of the most valued. And as per some analysts, if we list ourselves, we'll be the most valued insurance company, general insurance company in India. That is how we would be if we go for listing. Now, the other point which comes is if you look at it, in a sense that building this company obviously has been a sheer joy for me personally and for all my people who have been close to me. So I'll talk a bit about our interesting stories about building this company, and I'll talk a bit about my career, and then my learning that if somebody has to become a CEO very fast, or somebody has to start a company, what would be that you would face as you progress. So I hope this is what you'd guys like to hear more and more relevant to you. So let me talk about why I want to become a scientist first. I grew up in Calcutta, and my father was in the police services. And in the evening, we would go for a walk. As a small child with my dad, And C.V. Raman, Jadavpur University, he got the Nobel Prize, and my father would talk a lot about and the Nobel Prize and what Mr. Raman did in spectroscopy and what was his work on that, and that influenced me as a child very much. So my ambition in life was to get the Nobel Prize for my country. So I said I'll want to become a scientist. If I become a scientist, I'll be able to get the Nobel Prize for my country. As a child, that is what my thinking was. So the first lesson for all of you, because right now you are college students, and I think hopefully in the near future you guys will get married, and then in some near future you'll have kids. The influence that parents have on kids is big. Remember the story of mine. Whatever you talk to your child, the child will know slowly in his mind or her mind make up as to what he or she wants to do. So I had a huge influence of my father talking to me on evening walks. We didn't have television then. Television came in Calcutta in the year 1976. I remember it was a big black, white, and black TV, and everybody would come into our house. Even, and it is like I remember Lala Amarnath. He would be there. Then the first railroad chairman. They were all, because those days community feeling was very high. Calcutta still has that. And we would all watch television together. But before that, it was not there. So the entertainment would be a walk with dad. Even when you have Netflix and television, never let go of a walk with the family. That's the first lesson, if I have to talk about from very early on in my life. Remember this very clearly. Don't get too carried away by television, Netflix. When you get home, you had a dinner, take your kid out for a walk or your spouse out for a walk. 15 minutes. Do that. It has a big lasting effect on my life, and personally it has. Second, one of the journalists asked me, how do you define your personality and how does it get shaped? I said the cities I lived in has a big influence on my personality. A lot of people don't look at it. So cities that you live in will leave their marks on you. I grew up in Calcutta. I did my education from BHU, Banaras. Banaras is the place where I belong to. So the two cities which are very, very unique in their own way has a huge influence on me. Banaras for the spiritualism part, and Calcutta for understanding humanity and love, for people. I do not know how Calcutta is now, but in my time, if you're a lady and you would say, ladies, the bus would stop in the middle of the road and the lady could get down wherever she wanted. And the moment a lady would get up in the bus, 100%, somebody would get immediately offer the seat to the lady. That was the Calcutta I grew up in. I don't know how the Calcutta is now, but the respect for ladies was such immense, and the community feeling of being in a society together was such immense. I never saw that in any city. So that has a big impact on my thinking, as I grew up to be a professional. The second lesson is that the cities you grow up in will leave a huge impact in you. So absorb the city, understand the city very well. It plays a big role in your personality. Now, moving forward, I was joined college, did my MSA in physics, especially in laser spectroscopy, taught my class, was going to US for my research. One of my friends brought in some forms. In my time, getting a job was not easy. So you had to apply for jobs in which lakhs of people sat for competition and a couple of hundred would get selected. So people would actually aspire for IAS or bank probationary officer, insurance AA. These are all government jobs, class 1 officer jobs. That means the best in class jobs would be these. So my friends bought in form. They all trying to appear for the exams. So he got an extra form. He said, why don't you fill this up? I said, no. I'm very clear. I want to be a scientist. I want to get the Nobel Prize for my country. He said, no, just fill it up. Let's say it's an IQ test, not like you mug up and top the class kind of stuff. So I said, okay, if you challenge me so. So I filled up the form and I gave the exam, and I was on the top in that exam on all India basis. And they said, at such a young age, you're becoming a class 1 officer, for the government. So why don't you just take this job? You don't like it, you may go to states who's stopping you. So I thought, yeah, that's not a bad deal. And my first posting was in Mumbai. Mumbai for a young kid, who has been Calcutta and Banaras in those days, goes to Mumbai all alone. It was a very exotic city. Believe me, I had a great time. I was getting paid to do nothing, because I was training, and I was getting free food, free stay in the best of locations, And I was so amazed. I said, wow, this is life. I'm already getting paid. I have a good job. And okay, let me try this job for some time. This looks very, very exciting. And that is how I stuck on into a job which I never wanted to, never planned, never studied for, and got into the job. And as a direct officer, we had to be posted in C-class cities. So I got posted in a city called Jhansi as my first posting after my training. When I reached Jhansi and I reached and reported to my manager, I told him, here's my reporting from head office and I have come here to join. So my manager told me, I do not know what to do with you. You know? And I said, yeah, that's very interesting. I also have no clue what to do here, but it's perfectly fine. He said, okay, sit down. Since you're an officer, you have a cabin, so you go and sit in a cabin. No, we'll let you know. So sometime he calls me and says, you're a divisional accountant. And I was shocked. I said, okay, divisional accountant. Well, I have no clue about accounts, scientist of education. Never saw debit credit, and I become a divisional accountant. And then I become the boss of all these people who have been doing accounts for so many years. My head accountant was 45 years of age then, and I was like, in the early 20s, and an entire team, and I become boss of a team in which I had no clue about what to do. And so, but I just protested a bit. I said, but I do not know accounts. We don't care. You're a direct officer, so no, you have to handle all roles. So I go and sit in my cabin, and after about an hour or so, my head for accounts comes up and offers his leave application. And we are close to the annual closing, and it's a government job, so he's entitled for leaves and leave encashment. And he puts a letter for me that he wants to go on leave. Now imagine you are a young officer, you are the divisional accountant, and you have no clue about accounts, and your head accountant wants to go on leave, and this is your first job. Now, the idea was that he wanted to negotiate maybe overtime with me, because if I say no to leave, he'll say, oh, I have this difficulty, and then negotiate overtime, bonuses or whatever, would be there. And he knew that now Sakar is a boss who has no clue about accounts, so his negotiation hand would be much higher than it would be for me. So I sat there. Now, some of you are who can answer this question. I can see some of you. What would you do in this situation? Would you approve the leave, or do you enter into a negotiation? Anyway, just think. Yeah? You're in my shoes, and now that's why. A lot of time when I ask this question in an open forum, 99% people say negotiation. Yeah, Yuvraj also mentioned negotiation. I think that's what people say. So I think that's the more sensible thing to do. But I have always been very irrational and unsensible. I accepted the leave. So I just signed and I said, okay, thank you, all the best, enjoy your leave, and just don't worry about the office. We'll take care, have fun, great time, take care. So after 10 minutes of my acceptance of leave, my boss calls me into his cabin and says, Mr. Singhel, you accepted the leave? I said, yes. I think I have the right to accept leaves as the boss for this guy. He says, yes. But do you know accounts? How stupid and how foolish can you be? That's what my boss told me. From his perspective, he was right. What happens to the closing of the accounts? It's not going to happen now. And then he'll be in deep trouble because he is the overall boss. So I said, so let me, if you allow me, let me say something. He said, yes. I said, sir, first and foremost, on the stupidity part, let me just clarify. I have no clue on accounts, and you made me the regional accountant. So who's stupid is already established. Let us not get into that discussion. Don't try it, because you understand from my perspective, I want to be a scientist. So I was just doing a job for the sake of spending some time. So I can do all this stunt. You don't go try it with your bosses. This kind of stunt that I did. So stupidity established. And now let it be, let me see what I can do. Once I've accepted, it's my responsibility. And we didn't have computers then. You remember it was manual days. You had ledgers, huge ledgers, and you had to fill in sub ledgers, trial balances, general ledgers and vouchers. It was all manual. When I sat in my cabin and I did nothing, I just sat down, had water, had good lunch, and strolled around, and the entire office is watching me. Okay, this joker, what is he up to now? He's not even doing anything. He's not even started working also. Evening 5 o'clock, the office used to shut. So at just 5 to 5, I called up my peon, and as a government officer, we had peons there. Dinesh, I still remember his name. I said, Dinesh, do me a favor, you wait for some time. He said, okay, sir. What do you want to do? I said, you take out all the documents that was required, by the accountants to fill in, put it on the table, ahead of me. The fill documents, and serially put it, like what was the first document which was entered, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, put it on the table. And then on top of it, put table on the documents, which are the empty documents, and where does this document get filled by? What is the document that is used to fill this? We bought in yellow vouchers, white vouchers. And the peons are the best people in the office. They know exactly what's happening. So when you become officers and you run companies, be very good friends with the water boys and peons. That's one of the big lessons that you will learn. A lot of people ignore that. They'll tell you everything about the company that you do not know about. No, every individual, every bit of it, all good information does not come from your head HR. It comes from the water boy and the peon. They'll tell you the pulse of the company. And they'll tell you very honestly, the drivers, the water boys, peons. This is the second or third lesson I want you guys to learn. So when you become big officers, never, no, you may get angry with anybody. Treat these people with a lot of respect, a lot of love. And I promise you, the information net will be very strong and your decision will be much better. So they actually know everything. Yeah. She said, sir, isko aise bharte hain, isko aise bharte hain. I said, rakhte ja, Dinesh, let us try and work on it. So as you would guide me, so the water boy and the peon are guiding me how to fill in the vouchers and put it together. And I go ahead filling it up until we had dinner together, all three of us. Next day again, I'd come in the office, and then in the day I would just go out, try and meet other accountants from different companies, so I tried to make friends with them, take them out for lunch, understand how things would be. Bought some books on accountancy. In the evening, we would do the same thing. Three of us get down, again, take out documents, put it together, start entering. And about 3-4 days, I got some good friends who were my accountant to guide me, how it has to be done. And I think in about 25 days, I finalized my first trial balance. And I was the first in the country to submit the trial balance. From that day till this date, no CFO has been able to bluff me on numbers, data, and what balance sheet is all about. So I think the other lesson you guys learn is that when you are faced with a situation which sounds very dangerous and you don't get to understand as to what to do in that, and you want to really make it big in life, go ahead, take it head on. You'll find solutions. It's not difficult. Now, if you think about it, what is the difficulty? It's a new town. I did not know anybody, but obviously there are a lot of people. I just walk into people, ask who's the head accountant here, meet them, take them out for lunch, to spend time in the evening with my peon and water boys, to figure out documentation, buy some books, learn about it. So a lot of people ask me this question when I tell people that you can do any job, in any company. It doesn't matter that if you have majored in sales or that you become a sales guy. So I have in my company examples of a cashier becoming head for sales in distribution. I have an example of a technical person becoming the chief distribution officer of my company. So a lot of people ask me that, don't you feel afraid of giving opportunity to people who have no clue about the subject to do so? And in open town hall, I ask only one question, which I'll ask all of you also because you're still studying. That let's say when you do any kind of degree course, let's say you're an engineer, 4 years course. So in the 4 years course I did, how many days did you actually study? So I don't know. You guys seem very studious to me, always serious guys, But in my time, the most studious guy who study a month before the exam, 11 months they'll be having fun, The most studious guy, yeah. And people like me who study one night before the exam and fail, yeah. So which actually means that for 4 years, the best guy who study for 4 months, and people like me who study for, let's say, 2 weeks, put together 4 years, So in 3-4 months, you can actually grasp the whole 4-year subject and become an engineer. In a job, can't you spend 2-3 months in becoming, what you want to become? So this again is a big lesson. Never get stereotyped. I become an HR now person, so all my life I'll be HR. No, I become an accountant now, all my life I'll be an accountant. I've been a sales guy, all my life I've been a sales guy. You guys want to make it big? Never be stereotyped. Never hesitate. And don't worry about what you have learned. In 3-4 months, you'll get the full hang of it. My experience is in 1.5 years, you actually become an expert. 6 months is struggle, but then you become an expert. In 1.5 years' time, you really deliver very good. So I'll come to those points later. Then one day, my boss called me again and said that you are the head for legal. So I said, legal? No, what you mean the legal means lawyer kind of legal? Yeah, talks about law. He said, yeah, you head for legal. I said, are you sure? You want me to head legal? I have no clue about law. Honestly, I've never seen a court in my life. I've never done anything which required me to go to the police or court. Though my father was in the police services, but I never know. Are you sure? He said, yeah, you are the legal head now. So please go. I said, okay, thank you. And what about accounts? He said, no, that's fine now. We have got somebody else to look into accounts. I said, okay, it's okay, no problem. So I come out and then I see this guy. How many of you have taken loans and not paid? So if you all seem to be very decent, good guys, so you must be paying your loans in time if you have taken. If you take loans and don't pay, then the lender has the right to go to court and go against you to recover from your assets. And there's somebody called a kur kamin appointed by the court to come and auction your goods. So when I step out of my boss's office, there is this kur kamin standing and asking who's the legal head here. And then everybody is pointing to me, here's the legal head. So I said, yes, sir, what can I do for you? He said, I'm the kur kamin. I've come to close your office, close all the accounts and auction all the stuff here. I said, that sounds interesting, but what have I done that you want to do this? Well, no. There was a court case in which the company had to pay X amount of money and the company not paid. So obviously, there's an order from the court that we should auction your stuff to pay that money off. I said, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So then I took him out. I said, sir, ek cheez samjhao aapko. I've become the legal head just 30 seconds back. I have no clue. Let me have some time. Well, if you do this, then the next thing they'll say is that, no, when they send a report to head office, they say that the court has come with an order to auction the goods and the legal head of this place is Mr. Tapan Singhel. Can you imagine? That's the report will go to head office. And 30 seconds back, I'd become the legal head. So I said, I have no clue, sir. And somehow that guy was a nice guy. He said, Acha, theek hai. मैं आता हूँ 15-20 दिन में तब तो देख लीजिएगा. Let me try, sir. The massive pile of files, I remember it was huge, with all random orders and summons and all kept, because the person who was handling that, he had a mishap in the family. There was a suicide and he had been absconding, for some time. So nothing was actually happening. So it was all, kept like that. I said, okay, no worry, let's handle this. So obviously we handled that case and company was rich with funds. So there's no problem of funds. We paid, the claim. I started going to court, understanding WS, went through all the Supreme Court judgments and all the judgments is there to understand law, legality, and about a year or so, I was a legal head. And again, till date, on the law part of it, nobody can fool me to tell how to handle the legal aspects or how to look at court or how to take decision, which should be there. Because understanding legal contracts will become very essential for you as you either become an entrepreneur or become officers in both the cases. So understanding to read legal contracts, understanding the law, understanding what are the judgments is something that all of you will learn either by choice or you'll be forced to learn because of the nature of your job. So remember that very clearly. So that also helped me a lot. So now you see, because of my lovely boss who put me in difficult circumstances, I was learning things like amazing. I learned finance, though I did not do an MBA. I learned law, though which is not there. And then I became head for IT. So in my time when I was head for IT, now you guys would be actually be surprised when you see, like I'm speaking on a system in my hotel and we go through. In earlier times, computers would be in 2 double doors. How many of you have seen that? I'm not sure anyone has seen that. The computer would be kept behind 2 doors in air-conditioned environment. You take your shoes outside, no dust could enter, wear a different slipper, and then get into 1 door, 2nd door, enter the computer room. And then you had a massive server. And the desktop did not have a hard disk. You had to put a floppy. It was called a floppy. I don't know if you guys know a floppy now. And then you had to, that was a bootable floppy, which would boot the system. Then you put another floppy in which you'd program and run the program. It was before you had Windows coming out. So you had DOS, those time. And I became the head for IT. I had no clue about it, honestly. So I entered the double door as a head. So I entered and sat down before a fancy looking system. And I started typing something. Just kuch idea nahi tha. So let's say. So my head for programmer comes to me and says that, sir, I would give you a small advice. I said, please tell me. But touch the keyboard lightly, so it'll break. I can imagine how humiliated I'd feel. Like you're the head for IT and your programmer comes and tells us, touch the keyboard lightly, it'll break. So I just get up from there, again, as usual, feeling very lost. What do I do now? In the evening when I'm on the way to home, I see this Aptech and NIT, boards. Those were the computer institutes that come through. I walk in one of them and said, do you have evening classes? They said, yes, we have. So what time can you come? I said, I can come from 7 to 10. I said, okay. So I joined evening classes for computer. I assembled my own computer and I became very good in DBase, Foxproof, C++, all the things that you see. And I could design. In fact, the first website of my company designed. Those days, one page of website which cost 20,000 rupees. You'd be laughing at it. Now kids can put up websites now. And I became the best IT head. That was there. But obviously, it took me 6 months of intense learning and setting up a company. And those days, I was not getting paid very high. So assembling a computer by buying small parts, putting it together, at home, and did that. So, long story short, from there, I became head for claims, I became head for underwriting, and then head for marketing, and then finally, I became a branch head. That's the time. 91, I started my job. 2001, 10 years. And 10 years, I already handled 7 assignments. All different. You'll see that. Private companies came in, and I was doing very good by the time. The company recognized me a lot, and I had a lot of advantages. I was staying in bungalow and a lot of people, and I'd risen up, the career. Private companies came in, and they had to look obviously from government companies for talent. Otherwise, where they get talent from insurance companies. So you had Tata with AIG, you had Bajaj with Allianz, you had IFCO Crypco with Tokyo, you had Reliance on its own, then you had ICICI with Lombard, SDFC with Chubb, later on with Argo. So a lot of these companies, all the big names of the international markets, they came to Indian markets, and people started moving towards private. So a lot of these companies called me also. I said, no, I'm very happy doing what I am. So I don't want to join a private company. Then one of my friends joined Bajaj Allianz, and he was from my same company. And once he said, looks like you're afraid to join a private company. You're too comfortable in your job that you're doing. Now, you saw how from scientist I joined the insurance industry. Just somebody challenged me and I landed here. So this was my weakness. So obviously I said, Acha, aisa bola. So next day I'm coming. So next day I went and joined by Allianz as a founding employee of the company. Very, very bold thing to do. And by the time I was married, I had 2 small daughters. So I went and joined the company. Pune was the head office. So the then CEO told me, look here, we give you this territory. So giving different territories. Now you're going to set up the company there. I said, okay, so what do I get? He says, you get a laptop, you get a mobile phone. I said, very good. What else? Nothing else. So in 1 month's time, you find an office space that has to be like a business center, recruit people, and start your systems. And then if you don't do so, we sack you. Government job, you don't get sacked. Yeah. And if you die, your wife gets a job. My wife is an engineer. So she would become a class 1 officer. Those were the rules then. If I lived, then I would get pension. And as long as I lived, I would be in a comfortable house, some good places, bungalows, I would have a big office, infrastructure. So in a way, in a government job, there's nothing like losing job. There's nothing on failing. The only thing is that whether you become the CMD or you don't become CMD, that's the only thing depending on how your career moves. But job is assured and your family is assured. So imagine I leave that just because somebody told me that you're afraid. I join a company in which I'm given a laptop, mobile, and no office, nothing. This is your territory. Set it up, okay? And no staff also. And then if you can't do it in a month time, then the last slide of the CEO presentation said, even my best friend gets sacked. It was very comforting for me. Imagine, you enter into a job. And we had no office, nothing. It was just like a startup, There were a bunch of I think 100 of us who initially joined the company. and all of us, some of us given different territories, some were put in head office. And territory means that you go with a laptop and just set up the market. Kuch nahi, na naam hai, na dukaan hai, na aadmi hai, that's it. So I said, okay, I come back to my base town and I get ready the next day to leave for office. And then I stand at the gate. My wife looks at me and says, okay, what happened now? I said, nothing. I do not know where to go. And then she said something which I never forget. She said, my mother warned me, don't marry this guy. He's pretty, foolish in his own way. Today you proved my mother right. I say, I think no, she was pretty right. So, okay, but now I'm already into this. What do I do now? Let me go and figure that out. She said, yaar, 2 छोटे बच्चे हैं. मेरी फैक्ट्री थी, वो भी हम लोगों ने बेच दिया. नौकरी भी नहीं है. I don't have a job also now. Your job was there, is going very fine. Now you quit that job, you join a company in which you do not know where to go. It's a very, very interesting situation to be in now. So imagine 10 years into my career, I quit a very comfortable job. And I move into a job in which I could be sacked in a month's time. And there's no office, nothing, not even a bank account. So if I have to run the expenses of that office which I'm going to open, I have to pay from my own salary and take reimbursement from head office. Bank account bhi nahi khule hue the, it could just, so things look so simple when you run an office. It's very complicated when you do a startup. So I said, okay, fair enough, no worry. So found a small office because I couldn't afford a big office. A small office means that I would open the shutter on my own, start my own generator on my own, and then start for recruiting people. So when I started recruiting people, they would be so scared, they would lose the job. So this person who I recruited my second command, then I told him, "What's your scare?" He said, "3 years at least minimum if you can guarantee me a job." I said, "We can't guarantee a job." But no, no. I said, "Do you have faith in me?" I said, "I have faith in you, but not on the company." I said, "Okay. If things go wrong for 3 years, whatever the existing salary, I'll pay you." I don't know from where would I have paid him if actually it went wrong, no? But I had to tell him that to start. Imagine how I'm recruiting people, no? Give personal guarantee for the company to get them on board and start, my company in its own way. And then when I went to clients whom I knew, make a beautiful presentation. Bajaj is so and so, Hamara Bajaj, and Allianz is the world's largest insurance company, and so many, $1 trillion and billion, revenues and all this stuff, They would listen very patiently, and they said, "Look here, Tapan, we know you, we respect you, but we are sorry, you guys have to establish yourself. Tomorrow if the company closes and run away, what happens to us?" And Enron had happened then. I don't know if you guys know when Enron had happened. That was the era. So people are afraid of MNCs. And it was pretty tough. Finally, we got a client we sold the policy to. And next the client comes and returns the policy. He said, "Please give me my money back." I said, "What happened?" So the banks don't accept your policy. I said, "Okay, which bank?" They said, "Canara Bank." I said, "Is it? But why should they not? We are regulated by IIDA and IIDA is given the license." So I went to the Canara Bank ZM and said, "Sir, no, why don't you accept a policy?" They don't know. I have a booklet from IBA which just states 4 companies, the government companies. We don't have your name there. So I said, "No, but we are regulated. IIDA is given the license and the government of India has allowed us." Well, I don't consider all that. I just consider the IBA book. Imagine if your policy is returned, your business before it starts closes down. No, nobody's going to trust you. I had a lot of argument with this person. And maybe the guy was right. He just didn't accept what I was saying. So after 1 hour of intense argument, I stepped out of his office. And before, as I was walking down the road, I saw the Reserve Bank of India before me. I said, "Let's insure Reserve Bank of India." So I just walked into RBI. I knew nobody. I asked for station establishment, general manager. I went up to his cabin and I said, "Sir, I want to insure Reserve Bank of India." He looked at me, somebody fool early in the morning comes to you and says, "I want to insure Reserve Bank of India." He says, "That's fine. But why would I want to insure with you? First explain to me this." I said, "No, it's a good point. So let's talk about it. Let me talk about my problem." So I told him I have a policy and your bank, Canara Bank, rejects it. You're a regulator. You understand this very well. And to demonstrate faith in my company, I should be able to insure something which would have faith with the banks. And Reserve Bank of India is the regulator for banks. So I thought it's good to insure Reserve Bank of India. And you understand the regulator, so I want your help in this. Somehow, he was again from Calcutta and I could speak Bengali. I couldn't bolte bari bhalo kore. So I spoke Bengali. I tried all my charms with him and somehow it worked. So he said, "Okay, Tapan, I understand your case. So if you get me a good deal, I'll help you with it." I sat down, prepared a good proposal for him. And we insured the Reserve Bank of India. And then it became very, very viral. I went back to Canara Bank and said, "If the Reserve Bank of India can insure, why can't you, take my policies?" And obviously started from there. But today, Canara Bank is my corporate agent. If you go to any Canara Bank branch, they sell Bajaj policies. So imagine 20 years back, the same bank rejected my policy. Today, they sell my policy to everybody, which is there. I'll tell you one more story and then I'll tell you lessons in being a CEO, which will be interesting. I asked to hire agents then. And then I tell the agents, when you go and do business, always target the biggest in your city. And in Hindi, I have to say, कि जंगल में शेर का शिकार करना चाहिए, खरगोश का नहीं. शेर का शिकार करोगे तब नाम होगा, खरगोश का शिकार करोगे नाम नहीं होगा. तो बोले, "सर कैसे करेंगे? How will you do it?" No, just don't worry. You find out the biggest customer in the town, get me an appointment. I'll come and show you how to close the deal. Young and you make all these bold statements. So this young national squash champion, he was my agent. He calls me one day and says, "Sir, I've got you the biggest client of the town. Come down." I said, "They are the biggest carpet exporters of India." I said, "Okay, when do you want me there?" But sir, today evening only. So I was about 300 kilometers away. I took my car, drove down, about 6-7 hours, reached there towards the evening. Went to meet the CFO and sat down before and started again. And now there are 4-5 people who joined me. Abhi sir aaye sher ka shikar hoga. So imagine, so I have 5 people with me and I enter the CFO's cabin. All very filmy. So I enter and I tell the CFO, "Okay, I'm from so and so, this company, Bajaj is so and so, Hamara Bajaj, Allianz is so and so." I would explain the company and then I want to insure your plant. And he said, fair enough, Mr. Singhel. So how much would you charge to insure my plan? And what's the rate? Those days was government regulated. The free pricing happened in 2007. Before that, it was government regulated rates. So it was fixed rates kind of stuff. So I sold him carpet at a rate of 2.50 per milli. He started laughing. Can you imagine now? The CFO is laughing. And the 7 people with me, शेर का शिकार करने आए, वहाँ सामने शेर हंस रहा है, you know. And you're sitting like a fool before. He laughed a lot. He laughed for about 4 or 5 minutes. I never saw anybody laugh so much in my life. And I was just sitting there like a fool. No? When he finished laughing, I asked him, okay, sir, since I provided enough entertainment, no, can you tell me? He said, see, I find it so funny, Mr. Singh. I said, tell me what. Since you come from so far, you give me a rate which is 2.5 times what I'm paying currently. So I pay 1 rupee. You want to charge 2.5 times. Now, the premium I place is to the company which is across the road. He showed me the office, no, across the road. That is where it is. And the head there, the divisional manager, he became divisional manager based on my business over time. When I have a claim, he brings me an empty checkbook. I write the amount. I get my claim. And I pay 1 rupee per million. And I find it so hilarious that somebody who has no office, no presence, no name, comes from 400 kilometers away, offers to do my business 2.5 times the rate, and he thinks I'm so stupid I'm going to give him business, no? When I already have the structure, which is okay. Never forget the शेर का शिकार part, huh? Because there are 7 people with me. कि शेर का शिकार होगा, सबसे बड़ा होगा, शहर में नाम होगा, no business होगा. That's what it is. So I said, okay, fair, sir. Now that you have had a good laugh, I'm very happy I will for entertainment. So may I have a look at a policy copy now? And also, don't forget, I was head for IT for the government companies, you know. So remember that. Remember how dots connect together in life. Huh? So I knew exactly what the policy would be that he'd be having, you know, because he told me the rate which was being charged by this person. So he gave me the policy copy. I said, so let's read your policy. It says XYZ corporate exporters, stocks of good covered. And bottom, you had this star, except those in section 1 and 2. Tariff, that government book of rates, had sections 1, 2, 3, 4. So I said, do you know, sir, under section 1, what is there? So I took out the tariff. I said, section 1 has carpet. So let's read your policy. XYZ carpet exporters, stocks of good covers, except carpet. I said, sir, it's so very interesting. You still pay for 1 rupee for not covering anything other than carpets you get paid for. So I had a claim they paid. As your claim must have been small, 40,000 rupees, not over 20 lakh rupees. Yeah, it was a small claim. I said, do me a favor. Call up their head office of this company and tell them that you're paying 1 rupee for carpet. And if they'll pay a claim of 1 crore and above for you. He said, okay, let me try that. He called up the head office. The office said, no, will not pay the claim. It is not the rate to pay. I said, sir, you should today thank God that I was here to save your job. If you had a big loss, you claim not even paid, your promoter sacked you. In fact, put you for as a CFO for not keeping your company safe. He really was like zapped because the renewal is due now. So he told me, okay, Mr. Singhel, what do we do now? You don't have an office. I said, you don't require an office. You require a survey for a claim. So he'll appoint the survey right now. No, I'll sign it. If a claim happens, just appoint a survey. Second, you don't want to see my face. You want to see the policy copy. I'll give you the policy as you give me the check. So obviously, as he gave the check, I called him my office. They faxed the policy. We got the policy and Sher ka Shikar. Now that gave a lot of confidence to people. Suddenly, all over the market, we started hitting the big accounts, the big names. We tied up with in the year 2002. If any one of you purchased car, Maruti car, or your family purchased car, 100% insured by Allianz. We had ties with the big institutions. All vehicles on the road, 100% insured by Allianz. 2002. So we made it very big. Then we entered every big account. Did tie-ups with NTUs, redefined the system. Before 2001, if you had a claim, it take 4 or 5 months. We made cashless garages with a company to innovate, bring that, and do these tie-ups. Interesting again. So we did this tie-up. Now suddenly claims happen. We are automobile, 1 in 3 automobile have a claim. So March we did it. We became the largest insurance company first year. In June the claim starts coming, and we are still about 100, 200 of us. And all the policy copy has our numbers. So which means when you reach home at 1 in the night after working, at 3 in the night, you get a call suddenly. Sir, मेरी गाड़ी लड़ गई है. वो कहाँ पे हो भाई? बोले पेड़ के नीचे खड़े हैं, पर्वत का और ये बारिश हो रही है. You have no clue where it is, what to do. And the newspapers are screaming that this company has taken more it can chew. It'll close down. The worst services, worse than government companies, pathetic, useless. All the headlines went against us. Again, we are stuck in a situation that we actually went really overboard, did a lot of business. My peers were not doing these kind of business, establishing offices very sensibly, very slowly. And we had this huge influx coming. Then we said, okay, there are two options. Either we accept all the criticism of the newspapers and all our peers and our board members and say, no, the company is going to close down, or we make solutions for it. We said we should hire engineers. We should open offices at a very rapid pace. We should spread our presence across the country at a very hyper speed. So we're able to service the customers better. So we did this. We hired service engineers, automobile engineers. We made them surveyors. The first time again in the country, we opened a lot of branches all across. When we opened branches, we set up retail business. We did bank assurance, the first in the country again. The first bank was J&K Bank, which we tied up. We set up an agency network. In trying to save ourselves from getting finished, we set up a huge network of offices. And because of network offices, we set up a huge distribution. We had to make them viable in its own way. And that is what gave Bajaj Allianz what it is today. There are many more stories behind it, but I thought I'll give you a starter part of it. Now you look at it, at every step, the chances of closing down offices or failing was very high. And we used to work from 8 in the morning till 1 in the night every day. Holi, we used to reach office at 1 in the afternoon. Diwali, we used to reach home at 5 in the evening. So if anyone you want to do a startup and you think that you'll have a 9-to-5 job, forget it. First 4 to 5 years of your life will be very, very difficult from your work perspective. But the most pleasurable, enjoyable part of life today, if you ask me what was the best moment of my career, it was those moments, when we were setting up the company and working, real crazy and doing all this tamasha, share ka shikar karna hai, Reserve Bank insure karna hai, If you look at all the steps, it looked very, very, audacious, in that time for a young man who had no clue what business, setting up, the business at that level. And then obviously a lot of innovations, a huge amount of innovation that we did over time. But I think those stories I can tell you later. Coming to the CEO part of it now. So in just about 5 years into the job in Bajaj Allianz, I was slated to be the CEO. I think I'd already driven. By the time I already set up the north part of the market, I set up the eastern Hyderabad, and all the part, central part of India. I was sent to China to set up, Allianz retail in China. I also handled some projects for bank assurance for Asia Pacific. So in just 5-6 years time, because of all the results that we could deliver at a very hyper speed, and was already there. So I was slated to become the MD and CEO. And I was pretty young, at that point in time. So first, let me look at why did I get at such a young age slated to become the MD and CEO of one of the best insurance companies by the time it was already building up very strongly. One was my early story, and I told you, when I took up departments and roles which I had no clue about, but even I had to learn with evening classes or learn with my friends from different departments, never hesitated, went ahead, demonstrated, learned that. This played a big role when I joined the private insurance company early on, because I knew about nearly all departments, which I had gone through and rotated myself. So I didn't have to depend on anybody else to tell me what and what. I had it all, understanding as to how it has to go, what has to happen, what are the laws, regulations, contract, the IT systems, or the admin systems. When I took up the assignment, it was again very unnerving, because after a very balanced work, secure, I moved to a very uncharted territory in which my job was at stake. And I was already married, had 2 young daughters. So I don't know what would happen if I lose my job. That to a circumstance in which every third day I'd feel that this office will close down. Banks not accepting your policies, the police not accepting your cover notes, to setting up a distribution network which could not manage because of our infrastructure being very small, to be able to respond to it at a very hyper speed with a lot of innovations on the way, because we have to really automate very, very fast and get it done. So the next lesson is that even in uncharted, challenging environment, even when you're beaten down and on your knees, you still think, what next? You just can't give up. You give up, the story gets over. Then people are talking the failure of Bajaj Allianz and what are the lessons from the failure of Bajaj Allianz. Today, they're not talking success of Bajaj Allianz. The story gets over. As an individual, when your boss feels who can handle it the most. Today, I feel when I told you the story, maybe you felt my boss was very, very difficult and like the Satan of the world. But if you look at it, he may actually be feeling that this is the only guy who can bail him out. He would have huge trust in me. That's why he kept on giving me different assignments, which he could have given to anybody else. Like, what was he? Maybe setting a failure. Maybe he was having so much faith on me. I did not ask him the question. But today, I think he had faith in me. When your bosses give you an assignment, which looks very, very difficult and set up of failures, if you take them head on, then you become the problem solver for the organization. You become the man or the lady to go when the company is in a crisis. And as you bring the company out of crisis, just 2 or 3 of these stunts, you get zoomed up to the CXO level and you become the MD and CEO in waiting. Now, let's say if I played safe, if I did not do any of this, I would not have been there, already there to become the MD and CEO, of the company. Now I'm already there and I'm the star right now, and all the laurels around me, international exposure, rated as one of the best upcoming future leaders and all the stuff. You start getting that. And then when it's very clear that I'll become the MD and CEO, in fact, I had enough indications, the name is announced is not mine. And then I'm told that since you're very young, we thought we'll get somebody who's older than you, to become. And I said, yeah, that sounds fair enough. I have no hurry. Let me continue. After 2.5 years, again, the chance comes up for me to become the MD and CEO. This time, again, I have very strong indications. And then the name announced is somebody else. And now I start getting calls from everywhere else, from competitors, and say, would you like to be MD and CEO of this company? And I start getting job offers. And a lot of my people start calling me and say, sir, aap kab banoge MD and CEO? So imagine very difficult circumstances from a career perspective. You're slated to be, you're already there. People already told you, and then you miss it. And then you get offers, to become the MD and CEO of your competitive companies, and you get people asking me. So I decided I'm still young. If I have to be MD and CEO, I'll be of this company only, which I told when I joined the company. This MD and CEO, which is a very popular statement of mine. And I said, there's no hurry. So then when people ask me, Kab banoge, I would say, I do not know when I'll become the MD and CEO of this company. But I promise you one thing. The day I'll become the best MD and CEO that the country has seen, of an insurance company. That's what I said. And then I got back. I said, okay, let me figure out what more I have to make myself better. Because there's one, I don't know how many of you listen to shairis now. In my time, those were entertainment. So there's one very popular shairi, Khud ko kar buland itna. So, I think, have you heard that? Yeah, I can see some of you nodding head, It just says that make you so powerful that before any decision on your life, God himself or herself asks you, what do you want? So you become so powerful that even God, for deciding destiny, has to ask you, okay, tell me now, what do you want? So that's what your destiny shall be. That's an Urdu shairi, which goes in those lines. So I said, okay, let me figure out what more should I do. So I started working much more harder and made myself more powerful in terms of relationship building, networking, in terms of building up distribution, understanding more innovation, looking at the world, what's happening, picking up the best practices, looking at projects, international projects, and then looking at even European projects. Still a lot of projects on insurance, and that couple of years, I built up a very different skill set, which I had not built up while I was building up the company. And then I became MD and CEO 10 years back, of this company. And then obviously we had a very good dream run. As I said, in my worst quarter performance, my market share of profit in the industry is over 50%. So find me a company which for 10 years, in the worst performance, has a 50% market share of the industry profit, grows the market share pie, and also grows the customer base. And I have the largest customer acquisition now. So continuously for 10 years, like we're talking how many quarters now? 40 quarters. Yeah. So we're not talking like 1 or 2 quarters that we do that. Continuously for every quarter we did that. And that's why you hear all these awards that, national, international awards that I got. So the lesson that you have to learn and understand from here is that if you want to be something, you can get there. Never be afraid, whether you know, you do not know. When you are beaten down, figure out ways to solve the problem and get back to it. So running short of time now, already 11:57. So I think I'll close my talk because this is my passion. I can talk about a company for ages and hours together. I'll take any questions that comes from all of you. Over to you guys.
Hi, sir. First of all, it was a very fun session. So I enjoyed a lot and learned a lot. So before we break into question, there's one personal question from my side. So you mentioned that one shairi inspired you And while you were becoming a CEO, can we hear that shairi sir from you?
खुद को अगर बुलंद इतना वाला, or which one do you want? There's many of it. No?
खुद को कर
I want any one of you to speak out. No, I want to see how many of you know that. Like, it's a very popular shairi. Most of you would be knowing it. Anyone? So there's a prize. What do I give you as a prize? No, these are real prizes. Now let's talk about movie. Do you guys go to movies now, or you don't go to movies now? Don't go to movies now. No, I think that would be stuck. But dinners, do you guys go out? Or don't go for dinners? Okay, then let's say it's a 500 rupees Flipkart voucher. Let's start with that. So this will be for the person who tells the shairi out. Please raise your hand and speak out. Let's see who gets it right. Okay, so we have already put on class Siddharth. Yeah, Siddharth, over to you for 500 rupees of Flipkart voucher.
So the शायरी goes like, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है.
Yeah, we're very close to it, no? But I think since you got the complete intent right, anybody else wants to attempt at it, or we go with what Siddharth said? Okay, so Siddharth, you win this thing. So I'll ask my team, no, to do who is quarantining with my team. So Siddharth gets a 500 rupees, no, Flipkart voucher from my side. So it's pretty easy. When you have a discussion with me, you get rewarded immediately, no? So good, Siddharth. So that is it, no, from which is there. So it just talks about this. Yes.
Okay, YouTube have a question for you. So since you have been an accounting, a legal head, a IT head, a branch manager, so which experience did you enjoy the most, and which experience did you learn from the most?
It's again a good question, Siddharth. So I think let me tell you about how I led my life, and maybe if that can be a lesson. All of us lead our lives very differently. So for me, if you see it, no, I never wanted to be a CEO. I never wanted to run a company. I wanted to get the Nobel Prize for my country. That was my ambition, no. So as life unfolded, if you actually watched my entire story, I just took life as it came. So it was not that something that I was doing, and a lot of us should be very careful. I think you guys are doing very brilliant. You are in some of the best institutions of the country, and no, you're all brilliant minds, and you're already there. The problem I see with brilliant minds is that you're so obsessed about your outcomes of what you want from life that you forget to enjoy the pleasures of living a life, no? So I was lucky because I had no outcome in my mind कि मुझे ये बनना, ये करना है, no? And the outcome I had that left way behind. I actually took life as it came. And every moment, be it difficult, be it good, be it happy, I was fully involved in it. So for me, even till date, now I'm 55 years of age, no, I still travel 20 days a month. I still set up businesses, run the company, meet a lot of people. If you look at be it LinkedIn, social media, I've been in top voice there, as you saw. For me, everything, every moment is highly pleasurable. I want to be super excited to learn something new, to build something new, and do so. So the lesson that you guys should have is, don't get too obsessed about what you want to be, where you want to be. Whatever jobs you get, what do you want to do, just go and do it. Until you're into it, it will have its difficulty. ऐसा नहीं होगा सुबह निकलोगे, people नाच गाना हो रहा होगा, music बज रहा होगा, ना साहब आ गए, ऐसा नहीं होगा. The moment you enter, you'll enter a lot of difficulties, you'll enter a lot of pressures on you. To be able to smile it through, figure out solutions, to be able to deliver the best output in adverse circumstances will make you whatever you want it to be and much beyond. I never thought I'll be getting this kind of remuneration, salary, designation, position, or whatever. सोचा ही नहीं जिंदगी में. They were all incidentals, Siddharth. They just came in. But the accounting, I loved it. And IT also, I loved it. Every bit of it I loved, and it was always a pleasurable experience. And none of my insults or nobody, when people try to put me down or cut me out, I took that as insult. I always thought happy or apne ko strong karna. And that's why the share had a very powerful impact. Always apne aur buland karna. I will not blame anybody. Politics hai, usne kharab kiya, main saath isne kharab kiya. It has no relevance. People will be people. They will always do it. Be it organization, be it family, be it friends. You'll always have this kind of people around where there will be politics on that. Don't get involved in any of this. You make yourself powerful every day and you enjoy the process. Rest, whatever you have dreamt for yourself in your life, I promise you guys, you will get that very easily. But you promise me to be very focused and love what you do and not get out when you're beaten. Just ये तीन चीज कर ले and जो भी सपने देखे तो पूरा हो सकता. It's so simple.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. So we have another question. So, so generally these days we do not get such opportunities, and companies are insisting on hiring people who've specialized in a particular field. So what are your views on that?
I completely disagree with these companies. I think a lot of people still follow that. But at an individual level, I feel that when I recruit, and a lot of my company people, you see, at least 70-80% of them are recruited by me personally. I recruit all of them. So the only thing when I should look into the person was how, one is, I should try and judge from his personality, like how, like, what's his personality like? Is the person going to be, and my interviews are pretty tough in a way, I put the person in a lot of crisis situation in the 10 minutes time, by asking, difficult questions or putting the person on the spot. And then I observe the reaction of the person. That in a difficult circumstances, how does the person do? Does he lie? Does he want to get away from it? Does he accept it? Does he find solutions? No, that's one test I do, which should come through. Anyone who want to do it, and do it right now also to demonstrate how it happens. In 10 minutes time, you'll be in such huge pressure just by having a conversation that you will either give me a statement which is a lie or a bluff, or you will try to find an escape route, or you will take it head on. The moment you take it head on, and you're able to find solutions or give an answer, which is genuine, honest, that's the first thing. You pass the first test. The second test I look for is how hungry are you to really, make a difference to society, to people. What are your values and ethics, and how do you fit on that? And third is, can you still smile at the end of it all? So after interview, I tell people, please forgive me, I didn't want to put in this trouble, but that's the process I go through. But if you pass these three basic things, you're in. I don't care, what degrees you have. So in 3-4 months, you'll learn what has to be learned. If your attitude is right and the basics is right, you'll get it there. That's the way I would look at it. But obviously, from an HR perspective, it's very safe to take from skill set, because for them, then what happens is that day zero, the person is supposed to deliver and they've got the right person. I think they make a mistake there. I think skill set and all is important, but not the most important.
So again, I'd like to ask another question.
Yeah,
so do you think that holding the position of a chief executive officer of the company has compromised your innovative and creative side?
Not at all. Ask my team. I still continue doing so. And I'll tell you how I do that. Good question again. I love the question you guys asking. So what happens as you climb the ivory tower, you have two options. And a lot of people fall for this. One option is that you will have some people who will talk very nice to you. कि सर आप महान हो, मतलब you're God's gift to mankind, मतलब ना आप पैदा हो गए तो दुनिया बदल गई. So you'll have all these people around you who will tell you this stuff. अरे सर आपने तो बहुत ही कमाल कर दिया. Human tendency is to love people who flatter you. All of you would be doing that. The easiest way to manipulate a human being is to flatter the human being. Remember the statement. Don't try it. I don't want to teach you guys manipulation. But anytime you actually think it through, when you have manipulated somebody, it is only when you have flattered the person. And even the other person knows you're flattering, they still love it. Okay? And that will also go for all the dating things. So if any boy and girl, you see somebody else trying to flatter you too much, be careful. The person trying to manipulate you. Flattery has its own problem. So when you're rising up the ivory tower, you should never allow this to get to your head. Because then your arrogance, your flattery is going to be the reason for your downfall. And study history and watch history very carefully. All the leaders who went down, the major reason was they started believing they're the God's gift to mankind. Never believe that. That's the first lesson. But obviously, you should have all people of us. Listen to everybody, but don't get carried away. Second thing you should do is always be on the ground. I told you I travel 20 days in a month. Why do I do so? So let's say I talk to my team and we say we should do this. And they're very careful of me because they know the next moment, he is going to be on the ground. And then he's going to come back to me and say, hey, the bath does not yet got implemented. Something is seriously wrong, So one, you will have all the feedback from the ground. Third is when you want to be an innovator, what you guys should do is read a lot and read random things. So all of you heard about data lake, all that stuff. Now there's a fancy word, data lake, machine learning. So for the human brain, is also a data lake. It's a very powerful data lake and does a lot of machine learning. When you feed this with a lot of random information, that's why for me, I don't remember when I watched television last. I don't remember if I ever saw Netflix. I don't even remember, I watched a movie when, I didn't get time also. But read a lot. Information, I love to listen, like I talk to all of you, I love to think and see how you're thinking. Put it in your brain. Now, when you see a problem statement, your data lake triggers, and you start thinking of solutions which are very different from people who think, because they are too tuned to thinking of solutions which consultants give them. And the consultant gives the same solution to 10 guys. You want to be innovator, you want to be entrepreneur, be a voracious reader of random stuff. And also think of problem statement that you want to solve and love to solve it. You'll always be innovative. It doesn't matter whether MD and CEO or you are a water boy. That's the only attribute. So I'm very cautious of these two things. I don't allow myself to be carried away by flattery. And second, I don't allow myself to be away from the ground. I still do that. And that is where innovation keeps on happening.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
So as you said in your career, you started in Bajaj from the scratch, and then you went on to become the MD and CEO. So in this corporate ladder, what role does networking play? The corporate networking, which we talk about nowadays, what importance does that have?
Yeah. So you're asking the question of the wrong person. I did not do any networking, but I'll tell you why it is relevant also, because I don't think I should only tell about what worked for me. What worked for me was, if you listen to my story, I took up challenges nobody wanted to take. I took assignments which was too dangerous to, people thought it will fail, and I became a success. So every assignment of mine, I turned it around, and that's how I climbed the corporate ladder, because it was on high delivery and nobody wanted to take the assignment. So that to me was the easier task, to take it up. On networking, I'll tell you one story and then I'll tell you my view on networking and then what is the right thing that you guys should do. So it's but my personal view. When very early on in my career, I used to see that I used to work really hard. And this friend of mine, he would actually go out for all this evening, whiskey, tea, and dinners with all the senior colleagues. And he would also be getting rated well. And obviously his networking was working. And I had to really struggle for my ratings and it really worked very hard. So one day I thought, this is an easy life. Bhaiya. Subah se aata hu, raat tak kaam karta hu. This guy hardly works for a couple of hours. And then he's having a gala time every time. He's having a good fun time, drinking, eating, and he's getting also a good rating. I said, let me try this. There's no harm in this. So then I fixed up, got my seniors, took them out for dinner and got some good whiskey, wine flowing. That day I could not sleep when I reached home. I felt very uncomfortable myself. I said, nahi bhaiya, I cannot do this. I felt very uncomfortable myself. Then I made a personal choice that for me, networking doesn't seem to be my personality trait. It gets me very uncomfortable. For me, the personality trait is to work hard, to innovate, to push boundaries, to be in the market, and to really deliver something which people feel is impossible. And I'll give you the impossible story some other time in economics. That will be another story. I've done a lot of things people felt was impossible. Like some I told you, like the Reserve Bank, another thing. But today it looks easy, but those days people are ho hi nahi sakta. And I became what I became. So there are two extremes. This guy, a friend of mine, was only networking, not working. That's one extreme. That will not get you anywhere because he today is not where he would be. Today when I look back to, he's like half of where I am. So that did not get him where. My story also is a difficult one because every time you have to succeed. If you fail once, your story is out because you have nobody to back you up. So this is again one of the extreme stories. There are two extreme stories. One, pure networking did not get him there. One is my story in which every time to succeed. So it's like chances of error is zero. In between is the right balance for most of us. You should network, but at the same time not let go of your hard work. These two combinations will take you there. But if the networking is the cost of your ethics, values, and principles, don't network. Don't go to sleep being uncomfortable. तो जिंदगी तो मिली है खुश रहने के लिए भाई, मतलब ₹2 के चक्कर में अपनी नींद क्यों खराब करना? Never do that. बाकी सब मिलेगा. Then go by my way. Once you feel uncomfortable, some people don't feel uncomfortable. They're fine with it. So let them do. Then never judge anybody. Just because I have a personal way of looking at things does not mean the other way of looking at things is wrong. It's perfectly right. I never judge anybody. But you figure out what's right for you. And the way to figure out when you go to sleep, do you feel comfortable? If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. There are hundreds of ways to reach to where you want to reach, and each way is right. But it depends on your comfort level of what you do. So that's my answer to your question on networking.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we'll come to the last question for the session now. So, sir, if you would get an opportunity to go back in time and become a scientist, would you take that opportunity?
That's a very dangerous question. That's my childhood ambition. Nobel Prize milega to chale jayenge. So I can still do that. A lot of times people ask me, how did you and how could you do all this, what you did? I said, it's because of my scientist bent of mine. Everything to me has to be challenged, questioned. I think that is what really helped groom my thinking a lot. But that is something. So when somebody gets a Nobel Prize, I feel very happy. Bachpan ka sapna hai, And Bachpan ka sapna, you heard that song, which became viral, no? Kya Bachpan ka pyar? What was that song? Okay, Flipkart voucher, ₹5. Who can sing that song? That Bachpan ka, what was that? Who will take this on? Okay, Sakshi, over to you. Let's hear you. We can't hear Sakshi, you're on mute.
सॉरी जाने जाने मन बचपन का प्यार मेरा भूल नहीं जाना रे मेरा प्यार
You win that voucher, Sakshi. So ये बचपन में प्यार Nobel Prize पाना भैया कैसे भूल जाओ. So that would be there. I do not know what I'd do again, but obviously I still have that because somehow I felt that for my country the least I can do is. But you know how I've transformed myself in thinking. I was always obsessed I'll do something in my country. So I had a lot of opportunities to head Asia. I had opportunity to move to global head position. I did not do so. That's why I'm in the country for a long time. Successful leaders move on to international exposures. I did work projects and all. So people ask me, why did you not take this opportunity and move on? I say, I believe the profession I make a difference to my country. You have seen the health scheme and you look at interviews, you'll see much before that's pushing for the health scheme. A health scheme across the country would increase the life expectancy of Indians by 5 years. We don't realize that, no? Today, a farmer has a 5 lakh cover. And that means even big names like Apollo and all have started moving to the semi-urban places, which they could not earlier because of the demand and supply. I'm pushing a paramedic today with the government. I'm also the chairman for National Commission on CIA. I'm also the advisor to Chairman IDEA. I have many other roles to play. I believe the profession I can still make a difference to my country. Somehow the love for my country was very immense, and that is what I continue to do. So I still feel I make a difference in millions of lives by being a professional. So remember this, whenever you become professional, you rise your corporate, you buy your big vehicles, big bungalows and big holidays abroad and all your Louis Vuittons and all this fancy stuff you want to buy. You get all that. But never forget your contribution to society, to your country, to your people, should be in all that you do. So that's it. So that's my bachpan ka pyar. So good, thank you. You really sang well.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, just one thing. The lady and gentleman who won this, I'll ask who is quarantining in the office. I'll ask you guys to send the name. So we'll send that voucher. Please send it to them from my side. And thank you for your patience, listening, and time. I really enjoyed being with all of you. Thank you very much.
So with your permission, we can now break for vote of thanks. I would ask Shreyash Dukania.
After such a motivating session, it is an absolute honor and my pleasant duty to propose the vote of thanks today on behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. With immense appreciation and gratitude, I thank Mr. Tapan Singhel for being present with us today. Your knowledge and expertise enlightened us and gave us valuable food for thought during today's session. We learned a lot from your experience and are extremely grateful for your insights. A special mention to respected Reverend Father Dominic Xavier and Vice Principals Reverend Father Joseph Pulandai and Reverend Father Peter Arokiam for encouraging us to pursue greatness and live up to the great Xaverian reputation. I would further like to thank our faculty advisor, Dr. Arup Kumar Mitra, for his leading supervision and inspiration at every point of time in college. Last but not the least, I would extend a deep sense of appreciation for all the support, timely implementation, and guidance provided by the members of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell. We owe the success of the session to you. Once again, thank you all for tuning in with EDC. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you all. Bye.